Alrighty, here we go. Welcome to the Abel Marketing Facebook Live that I am taping today because Kerry Diehl is not able to meet with us on the regular Mondays at 10 a.m. because he's back into the workplace. So we're going to talk a little bit about Kerry and his company. And when I run this live to the Abel Marketing YouTube channel, everybody will get a chance to see it.
Super.
So let's get started, Kerry, because I know I sent you some stuff in advance. We had a little chat before starting. I got to keep my voice well lubricated with some water.
Yeah.
And so I just want to start off by saying thanks for doing this. Now, I sent you the question. So do you have your own business or do you work for a company? How does it work?
Yes. And yes.
Okay.
I do work for a company. I'm a licensed insurance agent with Nexus Insurance Brokers. We specialize in mostly home insurance and commercial insurance.
Okay.
So I'm building my own book of clients to work into retirement because that's what we can do. As long as I stay licensed, I could keep selling products. It doesn't pay all the bills right now. So some of the other things I can do is because I've been in the business for 35 years, I know insurance agencies. And so I'm coaching and helping out a couple of two right now, but in the last 4 years, I guess it's been about 6 or 7 different agencies with different needs. Most of them were on the side of broker management systems.
Right.
Huge, complex. You can not only do up a new policy, keep track of the clients, do the renewals, but you can also pay the insurance companies. You can do all your commissions and receive money from the companies because there's money goes both ways. And a lot of the broker management says that you can download the policies right into your system, so you don't have to scan or email different documents. You can download them right. They download the data and they download the e-docs. And a lot of agencies don't know how to do this and need some help to set it up.
Okay.
So that's the two things I'm doing.
Right.
And being a consultant and a producer at the same time allows me to set my own schedule so I can go out and take the time to work with charity organizations. Like I'm basically the president of the Blue Goose, which is a 105-year-old insurance organization for anybody that's related to any work in insurance. I volunteer with WIC, which is Women in Insurance Cancer Crusade. It's not only women, lots of men volunteer in that. There's a new group in insurance that started off in UK about 10 years ago, hit the States the last couple of years, started off in Canada. I just got involved with it. It's the Link, and it's for, inclusion and everything in the insurance industry. So it's a new organization setting up in Canada. And I do some work for the Insurance Institute. I've taught courses and I volunteer at certain events. And I've been an ambassador going to high schools, speaking with grade 10 students about how insurance works, the history of insurance, and the different careers in insurance. So that's been fun.
Yeah. So I prepared some stuff in advance for you, and I said, "What's your background in insurance?" So you've given us a really good background because I was curious about when your website bio says you started out with a large corporation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I started off with BCA. Insurance kind of found me. I found an organization that I could work with, and they said, "Hey, we've got an insurance division. We need people to learn insurance." So I said, "Sure." So I learned it, took off 4 straight courses, and got my CAIB, Canadian Accredited Insurance Brokers designation. And what's a good thing is that the insurance companies pay for those kind of courses, most of them.
Right.
So it's a good industry to be in because they will train you insurance as long as you've got some aptitude for something. I had like 5 years experience in sales and phone marketing and things like that back in the time. So yeah, I joined them in 86. And then from there, I got to work in a couple of different branches, learn some different ideas and all that. And then along came Cooperators, which is a national firm.
Yeah.
Also mostly a direct writer. and they had me pegged in to go into different insurance agencies that they were buying. And when they bought them, they need somebody to run them until they could set it up and give it to an agent as his franchise.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then I got onto a credit union, and then I ended up in many small family-run insurance brokers, and that's where I really got my teeth into managing and getting to know the different operations and all the insurance companies and everything else.
Interesting. Okay. So one of the things I always like to do is, and I know I mentioned to you that often when I do these Facebook Lives with different folks in different industries, or there's a reason why I do it, and I have a focus because of some of the people that I work with Able Marketing, where they're small businesses. And so one of the things I always ask is, when you're working with a new client, how do you get started with a new client? And where does that person come from?
Gosh, well, after 35 years and joining all these organizations and groups and everything else, they're kind of finding me. So most of my consulting gigs, I guess, are people that I know. They
word of mouth.
see my LinkedIn postings. We've met previously and we just chat, and it's just like, gee, I want to be doing this, and I think you can do it, Kerry. And I go, yeah, I think so. So I do meet with them and I look at scope, and these are the consulting ones. I look at scope and figure out, do you know exactly what you need? And if that's the case, we go with that. If they don't know exactly what they need, they just say we need help, then that's a little more time. I go in scope. I'll do I've got a 10-page agency self-assessment that I ask the owners or principals to do, and they identify, their pain points. So that's one thing. And as you know, sales, anytime that you've got pain points, you go and solve them.
Interesting. Okay.
So the other clients I get are people, I guess this blends into the next question, I guess, how client fit for you. Yeah. One is, of course, the consulting ones, if they have the need and we just cover it and discuss it and figure out scope and go with that. That's good. The other two are selling insurance policies. A lot of time I identify the new buyers. New buyers identify themselves and saying they don't think of buying insurance for themselves, but they need to buy insurance for the home because they've got a mortgage. They need to buy insurance because they're a tenant and the landlord told them to, whether it's a personal tenancy or a commercial tenancy. Or I've got some people who say, well, I need to sell or work for somebody else, and they're requiring that I have a liability policy. So all those new buyers usually self-identify because they have to buy it for somebody else. Now, renewal clients, after they've been in have a policy for a few years, they're more experienced, so they're going to come and they're shopping for better service, better price, or better coverage, because they're not getting them where they are at the broker right now. Or you're on mute.
I was trying not to cough. That's what I was trying to say.
Thank you. So those are the three kinds of clients, and they come to me through very many ways. Friends, people who I've known, people who know me. Lots of referral business now, so that's mostly what I get, and it's been good. I've been able to put something through, and I will not be, I don't know, slimy about it, I guess. I will go and say, okay, this is what you've got. This is what I've got, and here's the differences. Now mine might be more, but it might have more coverage. So there are options. And if you don't want everything, well, we can take it off and make it cheaper, of course. But this is probably good for you. And most of the time that works. And if they just want to buy on price, then they might not go for it. Or if they have a better price than I'm able to find, I go, stay there. I've looked and reviewed, and my consulting for that is to say, you've got a really good policy. I can't really get, or it's a specialty policy issued through a specialty market that I don't have access to. So, that's just perfect for you. Because if the guy has got an ice cream truck and wants an ice cream truck, then I'm not going to replace it with a pickup truck. It's not going to work.
That's a good analogy. That makes sense. How about what's your most exciting project? I mean, you've got such an extensive background. If you said 1986, is there an exciting project in insurance, or is
Well,
it?
I've had a
Or is,
few good jobs. Or one of the things I've done, which is very, very interesting, and I really like that, was being an inspector for the Insurance Council of BC. They license
okay,
and regulate everybody who wants to sell insurance in BC.
right.
So as an inspector, I went out to all the agencies, got to know a lot of the owners, which is part of my networking history,
Hmm.
and just made sure that they were compliant, made sure that all the people they had listed as working for them were still working for them, because some
Yeah.
people forgot to tell us when people leave. That was very interesting. But the recent consulting work was probably an agency that said, we're putting in this new broker management system that I had experience with, and they needed everything. So we got the system, we got it all loaded, we got the data downloads from the insurance companies working, we got the staff trained up from scratch. I made a lot of step-by-step guides. I got them trained, work with the owner so we could get management reports, so we could get companies paid right off the system. And it's a whole system. It's paperless, and it's just basically self-contained. You pull, commissions off there, and then you're just sending off a few things to the accountant. They figure it out. Everybody gets paid. So it is,
Interesting.
it
Interesting.
is a good system to have, especially because they've got 3 remote workers that are working up in the interior, South Surrey, and a couple of other spots. And me, I can do most of my work, and I have been in the office maybe 4 times this year.
Oh wow. Is that all because of COVID, or just the way the industry is working?
No, just because of the way I set up. I mean, last year they were working remotely as well, but there were still some issues with some home office reporting. The manager was still, printing way too much paper, and keeping track of things that he didn't really need to, because it was available if the reports were right. And all the everybody learned how to invoice properly, so there were no invoicing mistakes, and it just runs well. Very experienced people in the office. Between all of us, we probably have 150 years experience, and that's probably 7 people.
Hmm. Interesting. So what advice do you give, or could you give, to small businesses who may be thinking about insurance? Do you work with small businesses at all?
I do some very small business, and that's usually
Okay.
their first policy.
Okay.
So what advice I would give is don't buy it online. I mean,
Interesting.
insurance is very complex, especially commercial insurance. There are
Right.
probably 100 different options that you can put on a standard policy, or you can change and add. So you need somebody who is, your producer should have credentials, should have several years experience before they start selling stuff. They should have at least a CAIB, which is a course I took way back at BCAA. I've taught courses as well for that.
Hmm.
Or even a CIP, which is a chartered insurance professional. That's 10 courses put throughout by the Insurance Institute that covers a whole range of topics. So we've got one large course just on liability, one on auto, one on claims. We get the broad spectrum of what's going on in insurance. So CIPs are the ones who are most trained to do insurance. So that's who you want to talk to, just so you can look at all the options. Because any liability policy that small businesses buy is basically an all risk policy. And people say, oh, well, that sounds like I'm covered for everything. Well, not really. An all risk policy has exclusions, and some of those exclusions you'll never get coverage for. So that's like nuclear liability stuff, right? Never have coverage for that. And then there's other coverages that are simply better covered on another policy. So your standard business liability policy won't cover automobiles, because you get automobile coverage for liability on your cars, each one with your plate. Won't cover anything for professional accountants, professional lawyers have E&O, insurance agents have E&O, doctors have malpractice, beauticians, hairdressers have malpractice, and even all sorts of trades and everything else. There's different liabilities that could apply that are not covered by the basic, and they're all basically excluded. So they're excluded because you need to buy it for you.
Right.
And when you buy liability insurance, the insurance company charges based on how busy you are. So if you're doing 100,000 with your business total billings, you're going to probably hit at the minimum price entry for liability insurance. If you're doing 10 million, you're doing much busier. You've got a lot of people out there. There's bigger chance of something going wrong. So of course your liability cost is going to go up. So that's something to consider. And then the 101 options, it's do you have a physical building or not? Contractors usually don't. Small contractors, they have amount of tools. They may have amount of goods for sale. They may be doing a production process and have that equipment. So it's just all those variables, and those are the insurance you usually think of are physical items. There's also other things on the commercial policy, like loss of income due to different reasons, crime. Cash has got a separate category because a lot of companies don't deal with cash, and some are retail that do. So with all those variances, that's what you really do need to talk to somebody who's going to do an assessment, who's going to do a complete application, ask a lot of stupid questions that have nothing to do with your business, but we just have to mark off those boxes so that we know where you are and what you're going to do. So typically, even a simple business might have a 4-page application.
Interesting.
And if some of those questions lead into something else, like if somebody says there's a welder, then you've got another whole page of things that the insurance company wants to know about welding. Or if you're roofing, it's easy to find insurance for a roofer, except if you're doing hot tar, then that's expensive.
Right.
And we're talking about $45,000 for a $1 million business, roofers doing hot tar process. Because
interesting.
They with the heat, with the torch on, they've burnt down large buildings, complexes.
Oh, wow.
So not many companies want it. So of course, when there's only a few companies that can sell it, price goes up.
Yeah. That's very useful insight. I want to thank you for coming on and sharing all that stuff. I could probably just make a clip of you talking about the small business stuff alone, not to mention all the other stuff that we've talked about. So I'm just
on my website, I've got tips. I've got usually 500 to 600 words, lists.
If you're blog posts,
a homeowner, go and look at that. If you're thinking of buying a condo, go look at that, because that's a different set of things you're going to buy. If you're a small business, there's 7 major categories of things you can buy, each with many, many subcategories, and so on and so on. So kdstepupconsulting.com.
That's great, Kerry. Thanks. And I'll include that information below the YouTube post, because we weren't able to share it live on Facebook as I normally do. So I'm just going to sign off for tonight and say thanks to everyone for tuning in. And thanks, you're welcome, Kerry. So that's Kerry Diehl, and the website is kdstepupconsulting.com. And I will talk to everyone next week.
Thanks, Ben. We'll see you soon.